Thank you so much for being here with me, Kevin. I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit about Giving Forward and all that it does. So, you actually created this. So, I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about what Giving Forward is and what kind of work GoodBuzz does.
Sure. Thanks so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you about Giving Forward and GoodBuzz. So I'm a huge fan of cause marketing. Cause marketing is the idea that marketing budgets would somehow end up in the coffers of nonprofits, and I love to democratize that. So Giving Forward has two groups within GoodBuzz, right? GoodBuzz is the brand, and Giving Forward is the technology. So GoodBuzz, we have a content side and we have an event side. The content side is sort of like Instagram, right? We'll have a platform where content like this can sit and have advertising run against it. And we'll take those advertising dollars and we'll distribute that money to the nonprofits that both the content creator picks and the content reader or consumer picks. So in this case, this content is going to sit on your channel, and your channel will have the Miss America Foundation, which is a 501c3, as the beneficiary for the ad revenue. But whoever's watching us, if they register, they can register for the same cause or they can register for a different cause. And so it's 25% goes to the reader's choice or viewer's choice, and 25% goes to the creator's choice. So that's how the platform works. If we can get as big as Instagram, obviously, we'll have a lot of ad revenue to
Mhm.
spread around. We've got an events division as well. And so as we have comedy events and concerts and things, we'll allow for the ticketing revenue to mostly go to the nonprofits that the ticket buyer picks. That's
That's
how it works.
amazing. That's really amazing. So I'm curious what kind of inspired all of this, because I'm not sure many people would think, oh, I want to create this platform, but I want it to support nonprofits. I want it to go back into programs that support individuals. So what kind of inspired you to get this started?
Yeah, there was actually a previous inspiration. Thanks for asking. There was a previous inspiration called We Care, which I started about 12 years ago. And the idea there would be that consumer behavior might change if their favorite nonprofit got a piece of the transaction. Not a roundup at checkout, which has existed, and sometimes you'll see that, like I think Costco, when you shop certain weeks of the year, they'll have, I
Mhm.
think, one of the children's hospitals, you can round up to the next dollar or add more dollars in. This is really just paid for by the merchant itself, where the merchant would say, oh, I would like to help my customers support the cause that they want. And so my hypothesis was that people's behavior would change. They would prefer stores that would participate, and that they might be a little bit more willing to buy, and they might buy a little bit more if they knew that their favorite cause would get a piece of the action. So 12 years ago, when I built the first platform called We Care, we launched with about 1,500 merchants online, and Amazon included. And we used what's called the affiliate programs to take that little piece of the action, and then we would split it with the nonprofits that our members picked. So we were actually able to reach over $8 million generated for nonprofits that way.
Wow.
And, once we started getting that big, we were on everybody's radar. All of our merchant partners obviously were like, oh, that's really cool. We think it's working. Amazon said, wait, is it really working? You better prove it to us. So we actually ran what's called an A/B split test, and we compared people who used the We Care reminder to people who didn't, in order to see, does conversion rate change, does shopping cart size change, does frequency of purchase change, and frequency of purchase only changed a little bit, but shopping cart size and conversion rate both went up well over 10%. So we were pleased that the hypothesis was true.
Mhm.
We presented the data to Amazon, and a few months later, they terminated our agreement, and they eventually launched Amazon Smile. So they were inspired by We Care's adventure in this direction.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, there's such a big piece of We Care's business that we ended up having to fold We Care. There were some other issues as well with technology, but it was really, a combination of factors. But I continued to really think back and how enjoyable it was to write $8.3 million worth of checks to
Yeah.
nonprofits. ASPCA was our biggest beneficiary. I know you're a dog lover, right? So a lot of people really are dog lovers. It's one of the more higher passion cause
Mhm.
types. And so for that reason, the ASPCA was sort of the leading the leading nonprofit that we worked with. So I wanted to do it again, but in a different area. So I came up with cause marketing powered content, which is what GoodBuzz will be doing. So we'll see how big we can get. If we can get big, we can do a lot of good.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that you had raised $8 million. That's crazy. And kudos to you for kind of coming up with that platform. And yeah, I also wasn't aware. I mean, I always thought Amazon Smile was this kind of revolutionary idea, and it turns out you kind of laid the groundwork for them in terms of that. So I guess you can always take that, that like I started this amazing movement to have this, buyer shopper experience where you can give back. So that whole thing is amazing. I'm wondering, what kind of nonprofits do you think your creators are going to be supporting? The people providing the content are going to be supporting? What do you expect that to look like?
We're pretty much cause agnostic, right? We're a nonprofit supporting other nonprofits. So we want to empower both the consumer of the content and the content creator to, select who they'd like to select. Now, obviously, we have, guidelines around which nonprofits we would support. We'd want to make sure that there's, no hate speech, and that there's, that they generally, there's not non-discriminatory policies within that nonprofit, et cetera. So if alqaeda.org wanted to be on board, we probably wouldn't accept them. If there were such a thing, there probably isn't. But there will be obviously some guardrails, but in general, we really want to empower the individual contributors to bring on a nonprofit that they like. So, if Lady Gaga were to join the platform as a content creator or co-creator, she would probably pick the Born This Way Foundation, but she might not, right? She could pick a different organization. She happens to have her own nonprofit. If the Kardashians were involved, they've got the Dream Foundation that they're pretty happy with, right? So in some cases, certain content creators would have their own foundations or nonprofits, but a lot of them might also just pick something that they have a passion around, and we would want it to be authentic. So if the star of a particular magnitude comes on board and says, hey, can you add this niche nonprofit, then we would probably add that nonprofit, right? Because it's easy enough. We built this technology in the back end to do it. As far as what our expectations are from the content consumers, it'll probably mirror sort of the general popularity of causes in the United States. We're US centric for now, right? And so there'll be obviously animal causes and veterans causes and environmental causes and get out the vote causes, right? So we might have Rock the Vote. We might also have the Voter Participation Center, right? Because I know those are big areas of interest for you. So depending on who we bring in, it's sort of a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So if we manage to get somebody to become a content creator or co-creator, and we could focus on ones that have particular areas of interest, expecting them to use that cause. They can change their cause at any time. So we use a point system. So if they went in and changed their points, their cause today, everything from today forward, the points would accrue into a different cause. And similarly, content consumers can change their cause. So if they wanted to sort of spread the love around, they could change their cause at any time.
Awesome. That's really interesting. So you mentioned, Lady Gaga, the Kardashians, all of these big mega stars. Who do you expect to kind of have channels on GoodBuzz and be creating this sort of content to go towards those nonprofits?
We don't know yet. I mean, actually, you and the Miss America organization are going to be part of the process of finding out who we end up with as content creators, right? Obviously, not everybody that you interview or not everyone that Camille interviews would necessarily decide, oh, give me my own channel. I would love to do this. Some of them will just take the interview and get their publicity from it and be happy with that.
Yes.
So it could be half of them want their own channels, or 5% of them want their own channels, or 90% of them want their own channels. We're hoping that, like Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, right, that a bunch of them will say, oh, wow, this is a great way for me to give back without having to take out my checkbook, right? I'll just create a channel and I'll put certain stuff there. My wish would be that themselves and their publicists would start to think like, okay, what are we doing this week? I'm going to do this on Twitter, this on Facebook. this on Instagram, and oh yeah, we should do something for GoodBuzz, right? Who
Mhm.
should we do? What should we do? Should we do a piece of content that is standalone, or should we do an interview? I like the interview format, right? I'd love to get
Yeah.
50 John Krasinski's out there doing their own little Some Good News, channels on GoodBuzz. We'll try to keep the content happy and fun, if at
Mhm.
all possible, but we can also include, issues of the day, right? If issues of the day need to be talked about, and somebody with a channel says, hey, the conversation I'm having with this guest today, we want to talk about BLM, or we want to talk about voter disenfranchisement, or we want to talk about something like that. That's completely, it's their channel, it's their show basically.
Mhm.
So we're certainly, we're a platform just like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Um, but because it'll be generally, VIPs and invite only, we'll include sports, we'll include music, we'll include Hollywood. We'll probably stay away from politics in the beginning, just because it's a tough category right now.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot of strong emotions in that category, and so I'm not saying that we wouldn't have any guests from the political area, but we probably would keep the conversation a little bit more generic, and stay away from any
Mhm.
incendiary issues.
Yeah. Well, I, for one, am super excited to see kind of the future of Giving Forward and GoodBuzz. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited to see the kind of impact we make. I think this has a lot of potential. I think now more than ever, people are trying to find ways to give back to their communities and find avenues to provide resources that they have readily available to them. And what better resource than the internet and watching content? I mean, there really is no better way to do that right now. So I'm super excited to kind of see the future of this. Thank you for talking with me and kind of letting everyone know what this is about. You explained it way better than I ever could. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of this. So thank you.
Great, as am I, and thank you in advance for your participation.
Yeah, absolutely.